Okay, good afternoon. This is Mr. McGee for IB Biology. I'm going to make this quick video, and it's going to be so fast that you might have to go back and forth to take a look at this. This is the actual data you gave me for the time it takes the discs to rise in the potato catalase enzymes in the hydrogen peroxide solution, and this is the temperature here. We haven't done anything with it. I'm going to make you do this. So today you're going to create a table and then a graph and then stick it in the assignment. So first up, let's go ahead and label this here because we need to know what the heck we're looking at. This is temperature. And now that we've got that labeled, we're going to go ahead and put our units in there. You can come up here to put your symbol in place. Whoops. Double click here. I believe you go under here to symbol, under insert symbol, and you can see I've got the plus and minus symbol right there. You can click insert, or I just do Alt 0177. Okay? Plus or minus, and if you think of the temperature, we wanted it held within 1 degree Celsius. So I'm going to do that again, come up to symbol, or I can do Alt 0176, and that is on a Windows PC. If you're using anything different, it might be a different Alt key. But nevertheless, the symbol is over there under insert. Okay, now that I have the temperature, let's go ahead and label these as trials, because that's what they are. We'll just put T1, T2, T3, T4, T5, T6, T7, T8, T9, and of course T10 for our trials. Okay, next we want to label all of this as our dependent variable, but first we do need to do a little processing. This of course is our mean and our standard deviation, and we're going to get that calculated here in just a moment. But let's get a title up here. This is going to be time for discs to rise. And again, we're going to want our uncertainties, Alt 0177, and we were accurate with our stopwatch probably to within 1 second. So we have, again, our labels with a unit and an uncertainty for both categories. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead here and put a box around everything. So you can go ahead and just do it like this, but it's going to leave a little box there. So if I were you, I would just click this, come up here to home, click here, and put a box around those. And now let's go ahead and click here and put a box around all of these as well. But if you notice, these are all tied together. So let's go ahead and highlight this top part and go up here to merge and center. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and click these here. And now we can go up here to background under home, and let's give it a nice darker color. We'll do that over here as well. And now that we've done that, we can clearly see the parts of our graph that are the variables. This is the independent variable, and all of this is the dependent variable. We specifically want the mean. To calculate the mean, there's a couple ways to do this. You could just always highlight and go under here to average, but we're going to do it the way that is most standard. Click in the box you want to calculate, come up here to functions, and then you're going to look under here, under all, but since I have it already listed because I use it a lot, we're going to click all average because that was my commonly used one. Click the box there and just drag it over to T10. Make sure you're only doing T1 to T10, and we're only doing that top one. There's our average. We can continuously do this for each one just like this, as I've done before, and highlight these categories, but there's a shortcut. Once you've done one, just copy it, Control C, and then Control V will paste it. Or you can come up here to insert for copy and paste. Standard deviation, it's going to be the same thing. Come under here, look under all, or since I use it a lot, it's stdev. Click there like this. We're now going to click on the number 1 and highlight our top row here, T1 to T10, and that's all we have to do for that. And again, I'm going to go ahead and copy that cell and then click here and paste it under those. Next thing we want to know is rules as far as decimal point. Notice these are rounded to different, so what we're going to do is we are going to round these to 1 more decimal point than our raw data. Since these are rounded to whole numbers, we are going to go ahead and add 1 decimal point because this is processed data. Now that we have that, I'm a little picky with some of this. I like this all to be nice and centered. Let's go ahead and center that, and we can make sure it kind of sits center up on the category there like that. All right, our table looks very nice. Everything's good to go. So the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and calculate what's called a t-test. As we said before, a t-test is testing for something to be significant. And in order for something to be significant, it must be smaller than p equals 0.05. What we're going to do for this is we're going to test for two different categories. I typically like to test the extreme categories, but you can pick any others when you're doing your other lab. I want to see if this data is significantly different than this data. Now, when you do your lab, you may test any two categories, but again, for this lab, we are just going to pick the extremes for this to try it out. So let's go ahead and test out the t-test. Again, I have a YouTube video if you want to see more detail on this, but let's just go ahead and click a random box here for a t-test. Click f of x. Click t-test, and again, you can find that under all. And then if you come under here to array 1, that's going to ask us for our two rows of data. Click array 1, that's going to be one category of data. And array 2 is going to be our next category of data. And again, don't accidentally highlight the mean or anything. Next part is we are going to look at tails. In a nutshell, I personally like to use two-tail distribution because I'm looking at the bell curve, but that is for another discussion. If you'd like to see my video later on why we're doing this, that's it. And the next part is this paired or unpaired? And what we're asking is, does this data correlate to this data here? Again, there's a whole discussion on that. You can see my YouTube video later, but we're going to click 3 for this. Now that I've got 2 and 3, let's go ahead and click OK. And our question is this significantly smaller, or is this smaller than p equals 0.05? Oh, and by the way, we should round this. And again, we look up here to sig figs. Notice that these are all, rounded to 1 or 2 sig figs. We are not going to have any more precision than 1 or 2 sig figs in this case. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and round this to 1 sig fig, the same degree of precision that my lowest values have as far as sig figs, 0.02. The question is that smaller? And the answer is yes. In this case, the result is significant. That means there is a significant difference between the results of our first row and our last row. We therefore detected something extreme taking place. Now, if you, on your own, you could do a t-test between any two categories if you wanted to, but we'll save that for a later time. This again is how the t-test works. It looks for extremes, and we showed that in our lab there is a major difference. Okay, you're going to take the results of your t-test later and use that, but that's how you calculate it. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and create a graph. So to do this, we're going to go up here to Insert, and we'll go here to Scatter Plot. And if you need to blow up your screen to make this easier, you can hold Control and wheel this in and out like this, or you can simply go up here to View and change the zoom. It's just easier to get this all in here to see it like this. What we're going to do now is come over here to Home and go over to Format or Design, under Design with your graph clicked. Come over here to Select Data, and we're going to go ahead and tell it our X-axis, and we're going to now come over here and tell it our Y-axis. And now that we've got that on there, we can go ahead and click OK. And now if you look, we've got temperature at the bottom and the time for the disk to rise to the top. So go ahead and click the plus, and we're going to have to put our access titles. The access title is exactly what is in these categories here. So for example, if I just copy and paste this, I can put it down there. I'm going to pause the video a second. Okay, there I go. I stuck them in there like this, and you can see those categories match exactly with what's on my table. I can also click on it like this and go under Home, and I can blow this up a little if I want to. I'll leave that to your discretion if that is something you would like to do. Now that we're done with that, actually let's double click on the numbers here and go under Numbers, and we'll just make this 0 decimal places under Numbers, because that way it doesn't round it. Hang on, my monitor just blacked out on me. There we go. Okay, for title, I'll let you stick up in here, but ultimately it's going to be what exactly our lab is. Okay, it looks like, sorry, I was having trouble recording there. Looks like we're recording again. I've got the title up on the top, and now we just have a few more last things to do, and we should be all set. So you can see the curve of our data. Now what we're going to need to do is 2 more things. Add a trend line, which is click here. Add a trend line like this, but actually let's click on the option, not the checkbox. Come under here under Options. Do you think it is a linear or do you think it is a polynomial curve? I will let you decide I'm probably going to go with the linear in my data here. And we also probably want to come to the bottom and display the equation and r squared. Again, that describes to us how well our data fits the line. I'm also going to get rid of these grid lines because I don't like those. There we go. Looks a lot nicer. And you know what? Let's go ahead and get rid of this because we want it to go all the way to 50. So I'm going to double click on that and go to 50. And now that we've got that, our data fits the graph much better. So think about what has taken place here and what is going on. The last thing we want to do is we want to add error bars. Come over here to options and go to error bars and go under more options for error bars. Come under here for custom and you just simply tell it the standard deviation. Click on positive error bar and you click on negative error bar and do the exact same thing. We're basically highlighting the standard deviation for both positive and negative, and bam, that is all there is to it. One last thing is you need to get rid of these little things sticking out on the side. I just click them and then I hit delete like that. And there it is. Now notice we have a wide discrepancy with those of you that did the ice bath, and we have a lot of consistency with the higher temperatures. Just kind of something to think about here as we conclude our data. Now you're going to need to copy this table and you're going to paste it into the Google file, and that is a little tricky to do, so here's how you're going to do it. If you're on a Windows computer, you need to get a little snipping tool like this. The snipping tool is on every Windows 10 computer, but there's another way to do this. You guys are almost adults, you can look this up, but you can do what's called screen copy, where you, I believe it's hold FN, and then you hit copy screen. But for this, I'm going to click snipping tool, and I'm going to use this to copy my table. And there we go, my table is copied. I can also do this to copy my graph. Just make sure you take the time to make it look nicer, but there's my graph. You can paste those now into the Google file. I did find one other way to do that, and that is simply just to copy this and paste it into Microsoft Word. And again, the reason why is, Microsoft Excel does not copy into Google Sheets. It's very annoying. But that is what it is. You won't have to do that with your other major lab reports. But you will need to make this on Excel because Google Sheets does not do this. All right, questions, let me know, but please do not wait till the last minute. I will see you all Tuesday.